So after he harassed me in many ways, with an AIDS letter in addition, he finally sued me because of these clients that had come to him. And, you know, I was very naive. I never thought that he would win. It seemed so ridiculous. My attorney said this was so ridiculous it wouldn't happen. But we ultimately went to court in Cumberland County, and it reminds me of these Democrats that personally may want to be in favor of equality but are on the fence because of public opinion. I got a judge that I think was in that same camp. I don't know really how he felt personally, but he certainly did not want to make any kind of civil rights statement in his courtroom. He did not in any way want me to win this case. And even back then, this happened in 1990, I think the court case was in 94 when it finally happened, or 92, I'm not sure the dates, but I didn't have really good representation. Things were different, gay issues weren't at the forefront as maybe they are now, people weren't as comfortable. My attorneys, I wasn't sure how much they really understood gay and lesbian issues. It was unfortunate for me personally at that time. And we were not allowed to argue some basic things such as this was against the Pennsylvania Constitution. We couldn't get any help from the Human Relations Commission, unfortunately.
I wasn't there.
I went to them, but they wouldn't even discuss anything with me because it's not covered. And that's very unfortunate for me. In any event, when the judge finally gave his instructions to the jury, I knew we lost. There was no way that jury could really rule the way the judge said in my favor, and as a result, that was the verdict, that I lost and I had to pay him the money. It was very interesting. The jury was 10 men and 2 women, and one of the women happened to be a writer for Our Patriot News, and she wrote an article on the case afterwards. And she said it was very difficult for the jury in that room because they felt like the wrong guy had won. And they really didn't want to rule in favor of DeMuth, but because of the way things had happened and what the instructions the judge gave, they felt that they were bound and had to do that. And again, I really do blame a lot on the judge. Maybe I shouldn't point the finger so much, but this case of an overbroad covenant not to compete. What's interesting now is not only am I in law books because of my the homosexuality case, I'm also in law books as an example of covenants not to compete. Generally, a covenant not to compete is 1 year, 5 or 10 miles. My case is mentioned as saying this is a covenant that was upheld, but but the law book says we wouldn't suggest that you do that because it is so egregious and probably would not hold in any other court case. So ultimately, we lost the case. We did appeal. That didn't work out well for us, and I ultimately ended up paying $156,000 to my former boss. I took 5 years out of my life. I have since gone on to have a successful practice. I have partners, and things are fine. I have a very supportive family, and in some cases, I was pretty much fortunate in this whole incident. Because I had a supportive family, because I had an education, because I had resources and friends and I could move on, I could move on. What I did experience was that while this was in the papers repeatedly during that time period, a lot of gays and lesbians who also experienced discrimination called me and told me about what happened in their case, and maybe some of it was just wanting to vent. They would ask me what to do, and frankly, I couldn't tell them anything to do because there's nothing to do. The law is silent on this issue, and they really have no recourse. But I think the reason I would bring these people up is because those are the people that, yes, I need protection. In some sense, they need it even more than I do. A lot of these people worked in a factory, or they worked at a mini market, or they worked at some other job and they didn't have the skills or the education. So after being there for 7 years or 10 years and climbing the pay scale and getting a pension or getting benefits, they had to leave and start all over and go to some other job. I was able I was penalized in many ways, but I was able to rebound in a much quicker fashion. these people couldn't do that. And so it's so important that we do include sexual orientation in our law, and that the law not be silent, and that we take action so that this kind of discrimination and prejudice is not going to affect anyone, even the lowest of our society. Thank you.